Hello, Brian Weeks here again with another MMCD contract consideration. This video clip will cover the topic of change versus extra. When I teach the contract administrator course, I'm frequently surprised at how many candidates for certification are not confident about answering the question, what is the difference between change and an extra work? While both are ways to alter the contract, the difference is in the resulting obligations on the parties. In short, when a contract administrator designates something as a change, the contractor must do the work, and the work must be awarded to the contractor. Just as the contractor loses the discretion to say no, the owner loses the discretion to award a change to a third party or to do the work itself. On the other hand, if the additional work is classified as an extra work, then both parties have a lot of flexibility. To help understand how this works, the MMCD has included a logic flowchart on this topic. This chart is the second last of the pink pages in the general conditions. For this presentation, I've put some boxes around the various components that go together to help you see the bigger pieces. At the top left, the red box, is the logic you would follow to see if the item in question is a change or an extra work. At the top right, in the green box, is the check to see if there's a possible quantity variation. In the lower middle, the blue box, is the logic for processing a change. At the lower left, in the purple box, is the logic for processing an extra work. Note how additional decision points are added here compared to that for a change. And finally, at the lower right, the black box, is the logic for determining payment once the additional work has been assigned to the contractor. First, let's see how to determine if the item is a change or an extra work. The definition of what is a change comes first. A change can be an addition, a deletion, or an alteration. Deletions are normally best evaluated as quantity variations since the pricing method is already defined in the MMCD. Alterations are normally items which don't have time or cost impacts and can be handled by either a no-cost change order or simply a field memo. For example, specifying a different color of paint for temporary hoarding would be an alteration. However, the most common occurrence is an addition. For something to be an addition to the work, it must meet two tests in the MMCD. First, it must be of a type or nature similar to that which the contractor bid on, and it must be generally located within the geographical limits of the work. Work of a similar nature normally means that there's already some item in the schedule of quantities and prices that looks like the item in question. For example, changing a landscape planting from a dwarf cedar to a vine maple would be a change, and there might well be cost and or time impacts. On the other hand, adding landscaping where there originally was none does not meet this test, so it could not be classified as a change. Generally located within the territorial limits of the work normally means within the original place of the work or immediately adjacent to it. For example, the owner might want to install an additional water retention pond just adjacent to the place of the work, but still outside of the original boundaries of the contract. This would be okay, but the owner could not force the contractor to do the same thing a mile away. That would not be a change. Once an item is designated as a change, a number of mandatory things occur. One, the contract administrator must issue a change order. Two, once a change order is received, the contractor must do the change work without delay. Three, the contractor must not proceed without a written change order. However, if he does, claims for work done without a change order must be supported by daily force account records. 4, if the contract administrator requests a quotation, the contractor must provide it promptly. 5, the owner must award the change to the contractor. That is, they must not award it to a third party or do it with their own forces. 6. In an emergency, the CA may issue oral instructions, but then must issue the change order as soon as possible. 7. If the contractor is submitting daily force account forms, the CA or inspector must sign them off on a daily basis. In this way, the contractor knows that in return for having to do the work, it will be paid for. Okay, now let's look at the differences with extra work. The definition of extra work is even easier. Extra work is something the owner wants done which does not meet the definition of a change. Once a work item to be done has been determined to be extra work, both parties have a lot of flexibility. The owner does not have to ask for a quotation. The contractor does not have to provide a quotation if it's requested. And if it's provided, the owner does not have to negotiate the quotation. And finally, if negotiations begin, either party can withdraw before the change order is issued. Now remember, both extra work done by the contractor and changes assigned to the contractor will alter the construction price, or the contract price, and possibly its duration. Thus, both situations require the issuance of a change order to document the work and its impact on the contract. However, pricing does not have to be resolved before the change order is issued and work commences. Pricing may be as simple as accepting the quotation. Normally, however, some negotiation takes place. Hopefully, the contract administrator and the superintendent can agree on a new unit price or lump sum. However, if agreement's not reached within a reasonable time, the fallback position is to use force account, or sometimes called time and materials. In fact, until the pricing is resolved to lump sum or unit price, the contractor is obligated to prepare and submit force account forms on a daily basis to document the labor, equipment, materials, and subcontract work expended on the change order item that day. Indeed, if the item becomes priced by force account, the contractor will be obliged to submit these records until the item is completed. These forms are a mandatory component of eligibility. For this process to work, the contract administrator or inspector is obliged to sign off the quantities as accurate or as adjusted every day. The whole process of force account preparation and pricing is the topic of another contract consideration video. To summarize, changes in extra work are different because the classification determines how much latitude each party has with respect to who does the work. Changes are mandatory for both parties. Extra work is optional for both parties. I hope this has helped clarify this contract consideration. Please check our website for further assistance and to see what other topics are presented in this series. Thanks for watching.